Ever notice how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with? That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro. I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. If you don't rebuild the man, goodbye family. Not going to work. You know, if you've heard me speak for 5 minutes in your lifetime, you know I am 100% in support of family, that spiritual order of God. And so for 22 years, we have been rebuilding families by rebuilding the man. I have with me Judge Lynn Toler. She is the host of the hit national syndicated television show, Divorce Court. And I'm told here that it's the longest running court show in television history. She's a Harvard graduate and a former Cleveland Municipal Court judge. She has a brand new book out today, Making Marriage Work, New Rules for an Old Institution. And we're going to tell you how to get the book. Everybody and their mama should get it. Judge Toler, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming back on with us.
Oh, thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Congratulations on your brand new book. It's out today, right?
It is out today, absolutely, and thank you so much.
How do you have time to write a book with all that you are doing?
That's what my husband said. You know, when I tape Divorce Court, I only work 18 days a year. So mostly I'm a stay-at-home mom and wife because I'm home.
Oh.
And you have time. My kids are at school, or actually one's in college. And so I have time during the day to devote a few hours a day to writing and researching and doing what I do.
Oh, okay. And I read that you have been married for 24 years. Congratulations. That's a long time in America today.
It really is. We've been together 25 years, married 24. We had a blended family in the beginning because he was married before, but we've managed to make it work.
This is your first marriage.
Yes,
yeah.
And only.
Good for you. That's the way it should be.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
As a divorce court judge, you have witnessed many marriage mistakes Americans make over and over again, and you talk about this in your book. Give us a couple examples of the mistakes that they are making.
I think we make mistakes in getting married, why we get married to begin with. We're all into that rush of love business. We get married and think everything's going to be wonderful and work out without first talking about what we want from marriage, what everybody's going to contribute, what we do and don't like about one another. We don't take it on as a serious business. It's a love thing, and love is important. It's meaningful, but you got to have a plan of action. We don't understand money when we go into marriage. Finances are one of the biggest reasons people don't stay married, and you have to understand money in order to manage it. Yeah. And you also have to understand your emotional relationship to money. You have to go in there a full-grown adult.
But, you know, most people in today's America have not been taught how to date in the proper way. They don't really think about what's going to happen once we get married. Do we think the same way, or are we thinking differently about finance and other things because their parents have not taught them to think in that manner? And if you've not been taught to think that way, how do you come to think that way?
Well, that's part of the reason I wrote the book. Half of the book is about what you do before you get married.
Yeah.
It talks about understanding finances, knowing what it is, and just because you can buy something doesn't mean you can afford it. The book talks about what you need to talk about with your spouse about how you believe the marriage should work, what you believe in, not only logistically, but spiritually. What are your wants and your desires to make sure that you're headed in the same direction? So it talks a lot about the conversations people don't have but need to have before they say I do.
Yeah, that's why this is such an important book, because as you mentioned, people are just in love. They just love one another.
He's so wonderful.
I know.
She's so beautiful. And then they get him home, and what's this?
That's right. The morning after. I've counseled with a lot of folks over the last 22 years, individual and family counseling. And there are sometimes some cases where men and women should not marry one another. And I'm getting to a point, and your book may change my mind on this, that if a person, whether it's a man or woman, has been married before already and they're divorced and they have young children, that they should wait until their kids are adults before entering another relationship, because kids tend to want the attention of their parents. And when you start dating, the date take away the attention, whether it's the man to the woman or the woman to the children. Am I wrong in that?
I don't think so, and let me tell you why, and let me tell you how I look at it. I do think, and I often think, especially when you're younger in divorce and you start dating, they get lost in the wash of that, and they don't get and then the dating starts upsetting the ex, and then they get lost in the wash of all that arguing stuff. And I agree with you. I think that it can be done appropriately if you have the best interest of the children in mind, and that you understand that it should be a long, slow, and a long distance relationship. In other words, don't bring them in, don't bring them around, and only be around them a little bit, and take your time with it, because that person that you're with has to ultimately love your children as well if you indeed end up getting married.
And the kids need to love them or want that person to be a part of their family.
Absolutely. And one of the big rules I have in here, because I did have a blended family, I said, once you marry somebody with kids, their people become your people.
Yep.
And you have to make the time to establish an independent, loving, and meaningful relationship with each and every one of those kids one at a time.
You say in your book that 29 and you were 29 and had never kept a boyfriend for more than a year.
It's sad but true.
And so what was going on that you never kept a boyfriend for more than a year?
I was one of these people where I was very directed, and I didn't take a lot of nonsense, and it was very like, we're either on this thing together or we're not. And I wasn't chasing the dream. I wasn't chasing marriage. I was dating, and if we didn't get along, I was kind of like, well, okay, if this is who I am, you don't like me, it's okay. I still like you, but we can go our separate ways. I wasn't a chaser and a compromiser, and I wasn't grown up enough to do that until late in the game.
You say that you were on a desperate search for the security. This is on page 13. You was on a desperate search for the security I didn't have when I was growing up. And can you explain that to us?
Well, my parents were married for 36 years. They were good. But my father happened to suffer from mental illness. He was bipolar.
Oh.
So Mom could burn dinner, and we'd all be running down the street. Because he was tearing up the house.
Wow.
So when your house is unpredictable like that,
yes,
you don't feel secure. So I was searching for a house and a home where you knew what he was going to do. You knew if you did something wrong and he got mad, it would be ordinary mad, not I'm going to break out all the windows mad. So that's what I was looking for.
And a bipolar person is one who is angry at times and happy, but you never know when they're going to get mad again.
Well, there's a lot of different kinds of bipolar in different stages. He was mostly manic, so in other words, he was charged up all the time. He was up and at 'em, and he couldn't sleep. So in order to sleep, he drank a lot at the end of the day, and then when he drank, he got mean.
Oh, I see.
So there was just a whole lot going on all of the time.
Do you know what caused him to become that way?
I think he was born that way. I think it was a biological thing. He did go to World War II, and they did have some issues there, and they think that may have had something to do with it. But I want to say this: my father was a wonderful, principled, good, loving man that took good care of his wife and children. He didn't want to be bipolar.
I bet.
He just happened to be, and he respected his wife and his kids, and he supported us, and he was a terrific guy. I just had to say that.
888, I love it. 888-775-3773. 8877. Judge Lynn Toler is with me. When we come back, we're going to tell you how to get the book. I really want to encourage you to run and don't walk. Run, hurry, rush, and get my guest. Brand new book is out today. Judge Lynn Toler, and she is the host of a national syndicated television show, Divorce Court. And she writes about marriage, the mistakes, making marriage work, new rules for an old institution. Judge Toler, I do agree that your book is an honest book, and you're not ashamed to talk about your own mistakes and what you have gone through. And I think that's what helps people to overcome when they read things that are real.
Yeah, and I did, and I was very careful about what I said because I wanted to respect both my husband and my household.
Yes.
But I think that we did a good job of making mistakes and getting past them. And I think that we did a good job of figuring out what we did wrong when we did things wrong. And and I think that knowing that it wasn't 23 years of, skipping down a rosy path. It was a struggle, but it was a worthwhile struggle that led us to a good household that would give other people hope that even when they struggle in their marriage, that they can maintain it.
That's right. Tell the folks how to, because I don't want to run out of time here without you telling the folks how to get the book.
You can get it on Amazon.com. It's both in paperback and on your in Kindle. And soon I'll have a site on my store, JudgeLynn.com, but it's not quite up yet. But you go to Amazon, and they should be stocking them in the stores today, I hope.
Well, congratulations again. I believe I read that when you met your husband, he was, as you said, he was a divorce. He had gone through a divorce. He had custody of his 4 sons. He was broke. He was broke. Did you at any point regret marrying him?
No. I regret not talking more fully about money beforehand, so we both knew how to approach it. In the set, we had different views towards money, and that started a few arguments in the beginning. But I don't regret it at all. Why didn't you discuss the money issue during the dating period? You didn't know that he was broke until after marriage. Well, I knew he was. The divorce kind of, it took his business and everything, so I knew he was in financial trouble. It wasn't the fact that he was in financial trouble. It was how we're going to make new money and what we're going to do with the money. I like to save everything, and he enjoys his money. Yeah. And we didn't talk about how we felt about it, so every time he spent $1, I was like, oh, no, we could have saved that. And every time I saved $1, he was like, oh, no, we could have had a good time with that. Oh, my God. So it made a little problem, but once he realized what my issue was and I realized what his issue was, we could figure out where the dollars could go without upsetting everybody. Most, not all, but most women would have resented that situation. How did you avoid resenting that? He was a good man, and I knew it. And it wasn't, good men go through bad times. Wow. And when my mother married my father, he was broke. He was a lawyer, but he had gone through a divorce, and he was broke, and he had issues and all that kind of stuff. But he said, beneath it all, it was a good man, supportive of a good woman, and you just got to roll with it. Where are you from? Where are you born and raised? Ohio. Oh, no wonder. The Southern people are like that, for the most part. They tend to know how to work together, at least from the old school. They knew how to work together for the most part. I came from a very stable black community where everybody, I can't even recall anybody getting divorced.
Yeah.
I mean, we just didn't do it. I mean, that's just how it was, and people had their ups and downs and this and that. But, these days, now my parents' friends, they're all burying their spouses. I mean, they all made it to death do us part. It wasn't easy for any of them. So I think I learned from that experience. And I think one of the most destabilizing things in the black community anyway is that we don't honor that marriage thing anymore.
Amen.
And when you have a what I call a disassembled community, a community where everybody's wandering about and this relationship here and this baby here and that baby there, it destabilizes everything.
Wow. I'm sorry.
Thing.
No, finish your point. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. I was just saying it's a tough thing.
In your book, you talk about how you went through 3 career changes during a 3-year period where you were clinically depressed. I want to know, how did you overcome that? Because I have a report in front of me from CNN that it says, "Moms Gone Wild, 40-year-old reversions," where these mothers can't handle raising their children, and they're going out and cheating on their spouses. They're getting drunk. They are depressed because they can't handle the pressure of kids. Why were you depressed? Well, I think you've already told us that, but how were you able to overcome that?
I think part of it is a hereditary thing. I think I got a little bit of the depressed side, the manic depression from my father, because all of his brothers were bipolar as well.
Wow!
So I think I just got a little. I got a little taste of the downside of it. So it was inherent in me. But what happened was, my husband called my mother when he found out that I was really just under the weather and couldn't get up, and she came down, and then I went to a psychologist and I got help. And I learned how to talk about it. He learned how to see it, and he didn't know what to say, but he was always right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm crying or something, and I would call him at the office, he'd come home and sit with me until I got it together. And when you got that kind of strength and support, and you get the kind of help you need, you work through it.
Amazing. You're an amazing lady. Your book is absolutely something else. And I really wish you well. There are so many things I could have asked you about this book, but I hope the folks go and read it for themselves. You talk about dealing with in-laws, which is a major problem in a lot of families today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And in your book, you talk about the top 3 things readers should take away from your book, and I want them to get it and read it. Once again, tell them the name of the book, your name, and how to get it.
My name is Lynn Toler, and the name of the book is Making Marriage Work, and it's available on Amazon.com.
Well, God bless you.
And major bookstores.
God bless you, Judge, and keep on doing a good judgeship on that court. I'm going to watch you more when I have time now.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
All right. God bless you, and I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. That's something else. It really is something else. Once you can be honest with yourself about yourself, you shall be free. I'm telling you, there is something when you can be honest with yourself. It's easy to read off everybody else's flaws, how bad they are. But when it comes to self, it will be because of somebody else. You're never going to be free. I'm a living witness to that. We're going to take your calls when I come back at 888-775-3773.
This has been the Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show, produced by Bond Action. To access the full version of this show, visit us on the web at bondaction.org.